Life is not fair. I trust that doesn't come as a major announcement to anyone. I'm not springing anything on you. Everyone knows this. But still, how does it affect us when the most essential quality of each and every day is that it is profoundly unfair? All is fair in love and war means that anything goes in those two situations, both of which are completely unfair. War makes sense. War is hell. There are no rules and any action can be justified, even those which might be considered immoral or degrading in other circumstances. Morality is suspended in war. Decent behavior could get you killed. Anything you can do to sustain your life is acceptable. The one law of war is survival. The scars soldiers bear away from conflict include the memory of what they have seen and done. As for who survives and who perishes, there is no sense of fairness there, another burden on those who live through it. It's more difficult to see how this could apply to love, unless the saying itself is a comic exaggeration. Most romantic comedies, driven by their frantic energy, seem to endorse this, that anything you can do to triumph in love is permissible, short, I think, of inflicting physical harm or theft. Even in the screwball comedies, love conquers all. Whether love is inevitably victorious in life, that's another question. Outside of the arenas of love and war, we are matched up daily, unfairly, with life. Life is deeply unfair, but not completely unfair. If it were completely unfair, it would be predictable, and it's not. The unfairness of life is random and haphazard, and no conclusions can be drawn from it other than the singular one, that life is unfair. Typically, life is unfair in an unfair way. We can count on it, but we cannot know when or where or why it will happen, only that it will happen. Sometimes it will work against us, sometimes our fortune will inexplicably improve. How do we deal with this? When so much of who we think we are, and what we have, and what we do depends on a freak of luck. Many try to court luck through superstition, religion, or good acts. People try to characterize this unfairness by calling it fate, or God, or the great Mandela, the wheel of fortune. If we dwell on our fates, if we take a bad break, or even a good one, to heart, it can shatter us, crush our fragile sense of self, or falsely inflate it. We very easily get to believe in our own mojo, what I think the Greeks meant by hubris. Rudyard Kipling's famous poem, If, seems to be a manual for human conduct in this variable existence. I once gave copies of this work to a group of young people, early 20s, to read, and their reaction to it surprised me. I said it was famous, and I think it is, and yet not one of this bunch was familiar with it, and almost all of them vehemently rejected it. This guy is a wacko, one said. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about, and neither do I, said another. I wonder if this person really believes what he's saying here, said another. I was astonished then, and I still can't account for this. The intense and pervasive unfairness of life begins at birth. Societies work at trying to clear paths for those born in severe poverty or with physical limitations, but they try to do this without badly penalizing others for their relative good fortune. It's a delicate balance, rarely satisfying, sporadically effective. What is fair anyway? Is fair what we want? Does fair mean absolutely equal? Kurt Vonnegut wrote a short story, I think it was called Harrison Bergeron, something like that, which features a supremely gifted young man who is so advanced and capable that the state has to step in and disable him, shackle him, so that others will not feel so inferior. I don't know if any society ever successfully addressed the unfairness of life, and many seem bent on compounding it, reinforcing it. Rights can be extended to all citizens in an attempt to be fair, and that can have some mitigating effect, but it does not, as they say, level the playing field. Referees and umpires in sports, judges and impartial juries in court exist to keep things fair. But when life itself is so manifestly unfair, it's too much to expect man-made systems to be capable of achieving a perfect state of equity. Fair play in any sport is what you can get away with. Justice may be blind, but she cannot be exactly fair. And the champion, as well as the convicted murderer, the minister and the thief, the governor and the bag lady, one and all, they will tell you that above all and behind everything, life is not fair.